Good morning and welcome to Feel Good Friday. We are at the end of this working together with new beginnings, and today is the day for new beginnings. Anytime we can begin again and we can begin anew. Our reading today comes from What I Know for Sure by Oprah Winfrey. And this is in her section under possibility. How can I realize my potential more fully? That's a question I still ask myself, especially when contemplating what's next in my life. In every job I've taken and in every city in which I've lived, I have known that it's time to move on when I've grown as much as I can. Sometimes moving on terrified me, but it always taught me the true meaning of courage is to be afraid and then with your knees knocking, take a step out anyway. Making a bold move is the only way to advance toward the grandest vision the universe has for you. If you allow it, fear will completely immobilize you. And once it has you in its grip, it will fight to keep you from ever becoming your best self. What I know for sure, whatever you fear most has no power. It is your fear that has the power. The thing itself cannot touch you, but your fear can rob you of your life. Each time you give into it, you lose strength while fear gains it. That's why you must decide that no matter how difficult the path ahead seems, you will push past your anxiety and keep on stepping. A few years ago, I was writing this question in my journal every day. What am I afraid of? Over time, I realized that while I often seem brave on the outside, I had lived much of my life in bondage, much of my inner life in bondage. I was afraid that others wouldn't like me. I was terrified that if I said no to people, they would reject me. Everything I did, thought, felt, said, or even ate was connected to the fear I carried around with me, and I allowed it to block me from ever knowing who I really was. Dr. Phil often says you can't change what you don't acknowledge. Before I could challenge my fear and begin changing what I believed about myself, I had to admit that yes, I had always been afraid, and that my fear was a form of slavery. Author Neil Donald Walsh says, so long as you're still worried about what others think of you, you are owned by them. Only when you require no approval from outside yourself can you own yourself. It is true that when you summon the courage to cast a vote for yourself, when you dare to step out, speak up, change yourself, or even simply do something outside of what others call the norm, the results may not always be pleasant. You can expect obstacles. You'll fall down. Others may call you nutty. At times it may feel like the whole world is rising up to tell you who you cannot become and what you cannot do. It can upset people when you exceed the limited expectations that they've always had for you. And in moments of weakness, your fear and self-doubt may cause you to falter. You may be so exhausted that you want to quit, but the alternatives are even worse. You may find yourself stuck in a miserable rut for years at a time, or you could spend too many days languishing in regret, always wondering, what would my life have been like if I hadn't cared so much about what people thought? And what if you decided right now, because now is the day for new beginnings, I added that part, that you will stop letting fear block you? What if you learn to live with it, to ride its waves to its heights you've never known possible? You might discover the joy of tuning out what everybody wants for you and finally paying attention to what you need, and learn that ultimately you have nothing to prove to anyone but yourself. That's what it truly means to live without fear and to keep reaching for your best life. A time of new beginnings. I was dragged by my daughter to see the Beyonce movie Renaissance, her parent kidnapping. And Beyonce talked about that she was in her 40s and 42 and spent so much of her life wanting to please and do what made other people happy. And I'm like, yes, Virgo sister, I hear you. And she said, now I don't give a fuck. That's right. So she was a billionaire, had money for many, many years. But again, just like Oprah, so hungry for other people's approval or fearful. And when each one of those women, powerful women, a crazy Aquarius and a powerful Virgo, right, said, no more. I'm going to make a new beginning. And I have also walked that path. So oftentimes at work, people don't understand me. I expressed anger at a person who worked there who was being a straight bitch. And another black woman said to me, you got to be careful. They'll label you as an angry black woman. And I thought about what she said, and I may have shared this. I don't know. And I told her, first of all, I don't give a damn about how they label me. And black women have every right to be angry. That new beginning is with your knees shaking. Take that step forward into being your best self with no one's approval, with no one's permission other than yours, other than your divine self that is saying, I loved watching Niecy Nash. She won an Emmy. And it's been a long time coming in her journey. And she said, I want to thank me for being willing to do to exceed basically the limitations that other people had set on me, to be able to do what folks said I couldn't do. That's a woman who had a new beginning and said yes to herself. And so on this Feel Good Friday, I want you to feel good about being powerful, about loving yourself, about living your best life. It's time to do something new. And if you're already doing it, take it to the next level. Have a beautiful weekend, and I'll see you on Monday.